up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Trust Your Board podcast. My name is Stephen Wright, joined by Mr. William Monroe. How you doing, Will?
Doing well, Steve. We are here at the end of June, coming up on the 4th of July holiday here in the States. So we got a nice long weekend ahead of me here. I assume you guys don't have any extra days off up there in Canada for that?
No, we do. July 1st is our Independence Day.
Oh, cool.
Canada Day, as they call it, yeah. Yeah, so same time, really. So all good on that front. And then an especially big day today. We're recording on Wednesday because the NHL draft is today.
Yeah, Flyers have 2 first-round picks.
2 for now. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of trade talk with us.
Our mini Flyers podcast here, Steve. You expecting any big trades to go down tonight for the Flyers?
They're trying. I know for a fact
they've been wheeling and dealing. I mean, that Provorov trade, they got a lot back.
Yeah, they had a big deal set up with St. Louis, but a player at St. Louis wouldn't waive their no trade clause. There's another trade with Carolina that I think the league is kind of mad about. It's like a cap circumvention situation.
Is there a minimum that the Flyers would have to be at?
There is a minimum.
Okay.
But for this specific rule, there's a rule in the NHL where if you are on, to put a football spin on it, if you are an Eagle and then the Eagles trade Jalen Hurts to the Colts cannot trade Jalen Hurts back to the Eagles within 12 months.
Oh, interesting.
Because what would happen, and it would happen in this situation, is the Eagles could say, well, we don't have the salary cap for Hurts, so we're going to trade him to the Colts. He stays with the Colts for a year, and then the Colts trade him back, but then retain 50% of Hurts' salary. So suddenly it works out. So
it's basically just a way a team can take on salary, but
exactly,
and get some compensation for it.
Exactly. Now the silly part is the Flyers have changed their general manager. So there was clearly no plan to do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, they're doing some stuff. I'm not sure who they're going to draft. There's a Russian that's out there that is apparently Ovechkin levels of potential.
The number one guy that everyone's excited about?
No, the number one guy is
it's Canadian.
Bedard. Yeah, he's just going to be the number one. But by far the 2 is, I think you pronounce it Michkov.
Okay.
But he signed to play in Russia for 3 years. It's Russia, who's kind of a politically unstable situation right now. So he might not ever come over.
So is that a situation where maybe he'll fall because of that?
He could. So the Flyers are very much rumored to, if he gets to 7, they'll take him. They're trying to trade up to 5 to take him there. There's a lot of talk. But there's also rumors that the Flyers are really good at smoke screens right now. So a lot of people think they're going to do this. The other half think they're going to do that. Else. And no one really knows. Yeah. So it'll be fun.
Interesting. They are really leaning into their, their arena mates, the Sixers tanking, and it's fun, the beginning of a rebuild like that.
It is. So we'll see what comes of it. But anyway, from a real draft to a fake draft, we have another mock today. We're doing another 12-team PPR, right?
Yep, 12-team full PPR. You're going to be in the 7th spot. I'm going to be in the 11th spot. So both here in the back of the draft.
Yeah, it'll be interesting that we're close to each other. I'm not happy that I have to read off all of the draft picks between my pick and my pick.
Notice
you just
that.
had 3 people. Yeah. Not a good day for me. I got my glass of water here, so we'll be okay. I'm not looking forward to that, but yeah, it should be fun. I don't think I've drafted in the middle yet. I think I've always been on one of the ends. You, I think, have been all over. Have you been in the back yet?
I don't know if I was at the back. I've been in the middle and I've been at 1.
I might be thinking you're in the back because we did so many mocks for your Dynasty.
For the Dynasty startup where I was 9 of 10.
Yeah, that might be it. But so I'm in 7. You're in 11. Ready to get started?
Yeah, let's start it up.
Let's do it. Okay. So 101, Justin Jefferson, no surprise at this point. CMC, Eckler, Chase, there's Kelsey, 105, and Jonathan Taylor, right before me. So I believe I was in the situation with the 10 mock that we did last week, the 10 team mock. I think I was at the end of that one and I drafted Cooper Kupp because I remember talking about never drafting Cooper Kupp. So here I am kind of in the same situation where Kupp could be the guy that I want. But I do think I'm going to bob a little bit. I'm going to draft Bijan. We talked on the last podcast about Bijan versus Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's gone, so I don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to take my shot there. Rely on that heavy amount of volume that he's going to get, and we will see what comes of that. Before your pick, Will, I'll read off the picks: Barkley, Kupp, and Tyreek Hill. But I know we like to bring up old players once in a while, right?
Yeah,
that we haven't heard in a long time. Yeah, so I was listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty podcast, and they brought up Doug Martin.
I also heard them, I think, today bring up Dante Moncrief. Or maybe it's another podcast. Yeah, that's another name that came back.
Yeah, I also saw a highlight package of Michael Vick, and Macklin was in there a couple times. I was like, oh man, so many good old names.
It is always fun, like bringing that up. We're just looking up some old highlights of some older players that were stalwarts in the fantasy community at one point.
Yeah, and then they retire and they are so quickly out of your memory. You just never hear about them again. Yeah, it's interesting.
It is very true. But yeah, we move on here and we look at the next available players. So as you mentioned, a couple of those guys go off. We really just have Kelsey off the board. Not a situation where I'd be looking to take a quarterback just yet. Maybe somewhere in the middle of the second round, with Pat Mahomes, but there's just so many. Mark Andrews routinely going kind of at that next turn at the 2-12, 3-1 turns, and not really looking at that position yet either. So looking at running backs, we've got Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Breece Hall. Not really thinking about many of them. I mean, Pollard's interesting. Derrick Henry, Chubb. There's some concerns with Jacobs, possible holding out. So I think, if I'm going to go running back, I'd probably look to go running back in the next round, getting one of them on the turn there, and look to go with the receiver because I think there is still quite a few of those top tier receivers available. So looking at receiver, we've got CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson. There's quite a few big names there. Those top three, I think I'd be thrilled with any of those three. So when I look at them, I think they're all kind of in the same range here for me. Lamb, Diggs, AJ Brown, all on going to be the number ones on high-powered offenses. So if I can get one of the other two on my next pick, I'd be thrilled. But I guess the way I'll kind of break the tie here, because happy to have any of them as my one, will be I want to go with the guy that there's really nobody else on the team I want, whereas the other guys I kind of like either the tight end or the wide receiver 2. So I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs here at my first pick. If I can get AJ Brown or Lamb, great. But there's a potential you'll be able to get maybe a Pollard if Lamb's in the next round. And if I took Lamb, I probably wouldn't want to do that. With AJ Brown, you have Dallas Goedert, you have Devonta Smith. So keep the diversification available there, and we'll lock in Mr. Diggs first. After him, Derrick Henry, and then AJ Brown. So still have CeeDee Lamb on the board here. Definitely tempting to go with the running back, a bit of a wait, but I do think that there is a top kind of like 5, 4 or 5 that we saw go. And then there's still, a handful of just good running backs in the second, third, fourth round. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in 2 receivers here, go receiver heavy early. It seems like that's the trend that most people are going, which is kind of against the grain of the last few years of fantasy football. But in the PPR league, I think this one we're looking at just 2 receivers, 2 flex. I do tend to just want to get those receivers locked in. So I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb, and we'll see how the team looks with some future running backs. After Lamb, I get number 10 takes Patrick Mahomes. Nick Chubb goes next, and then Devontae Adams.
I'm not thrilled about this result. Yeah, I was looking it over. I was like, oh, it would be nice if Lamb made it to me somehow. But then I knew it wouldn't get past you. And I was looking at ADP, and it looked like it was going to be Chubb. And I was like, oh, Bijan Chubb. I could talk about Chubb and his the pass catching hype he's gotten recently. Did you see that? Yeah, allegedly the Browns, some beat writers said that they're planning on using him a lot in the passing game, which I feel like is just off season BS. He's never been used that way before, but who knows? And I was kind of excited to go running back, and the other running backs here, Josh Jacobs ADP wise makes sense. I'm just not really bought into that team. I don't know why. It's the same team as last year, minus Carr. Like Jimmy G and Carr, they're pretty comparable to some degree. And then Waller's gone, but Waller wasn't that great. So it's a similar team. I don't know. It seemed like an outlier year from Jacobs. Maybe that's new coaching stuff coming in. And then after that, you got Pollard and Brees. They're I'd be drafting like ahead of ADP here. Pollard would be interesting. Brees would be really interesting if I wasn't so worried about his health. And just, I don't want my number 2 running back to be missing the first X number of games and then, being slow coming out. Maybe closer to actual draft season, we'll have more information. I'd be more comfortable with that. But I guess we're going to go ahead and take a look at the wide receiver because we do have plenty of good options here. And we got lots of good ones. I mean, Garrett Wilson's the one that's screaming off the board to me, of having all the Aaron Rodgers hype, the Jets hype. But I've drafted him a couple places, so I think I am going to just pivot quickly to Mr. Amon-Ra St. Brown. He feels like someone I'm not going to be drafting that much this year because his ADP does align with Garrett Wilson, and I'm would rather just have Garrett Wilson. But Amon-Ra, obviously fantastic wide receiver. Maybe some worries back half of the year when Jameson Williams comes back, but he's going to take some time to get acclimated to the offense too and get up to game speed. So not super worried about Amon-Ra. I'd be happy with him as my number 1. So we're going to lock him in there. We'll see what ends up getting back to me. So Jacobs does go right after me. Garrett Wilson, Waddle, Pollard, Josh Allen, and T. Higgins. That rounds out the second round to start the third. Oh man, Brees almost got to me. We had Jalen Hurts, Najee, Mark Andrews, Olave, ETN, and Brees Hall. So that right before me, that would have been pretty nice if I could have got him in the third round. Also seeing a couple 0 RB teams or 0 wide receiver teams. No, speaks correctly. 0 RB teams taking shape here. We got team 1 with Jefferson, Higgins, and Hurts. That's pretty solid. Team 4 with Chase, Waddle, and Olave. That is if Olave breaks out, that's scary right there. That's a pretty good team. But alas, I'm sitting here with Bijan and Amon-Ra. At the wide receiver position, we have Ramondre Stevenson, Kenneth Walker, Jahmyr Gibbs, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon. At wide receiver, Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf, Debo, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley. And then at tight end, we do still have Hawkinson, Kittle, Pitts, Goddard, Waller, blah, blah. I'm looking here. I'm happy with my list of wide receivers. And given multiple teams, there are 2 teams after me that don't have running backs at all. One being you, one being the team right before you. I'm assuming some running backs are going to go and maybe some nice wide receivers are going to drop to me. So I will strike at running back first. And I think, top of the board, Ramondre Stevenson, I think he's the guy I want here. But pretty solid in there as the New England's top guy. I think they'll be leaning on him a lot because Mac Jones is just not so far developing the way anyone really wanted him to. Now there was some hype on PR Strong this week, as me and you discussed it as potentially really getting a lot of that pass catching role and being a James White type player. Would be awesome for us. But I'm not too worried about that factoring into Stevenson here. So I am going to just lock him in, get my second running back here in the top 3 rounds. More of a traditional team I'm establishing here, 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds. So we'll see how that plays out for me. No running backs after me. We had Metcalf, Burrow, and Devonta Smith go. You were on the clock.
Yeah, Metcalf and Smith would have been tempting to go with like a wide receiver heavy team here. But with them both going, I think I'm going to look back toward the running back position. And depending on what's there, may look, then I have some flexibility to either go with a third receiver or second running back next round. The top guy here for me is taking a shot on rookie Jahmyr Gibbs. I feel like a lot of time we see, the one or two rookies go super high, and we're seeing that obviously with Bijan. But I feel like this late in the third round, the upside of Jahmyr Gibbs, I think they're going to want to run the ball. He is a guy that could be a league winner this year on that offense. Really good offensive line. And, waiting this late, you kind of want to take an upside shot here. So we're going to go Gibbs first. After Gibbs, Deebo Samuel, and Keenan Allen go. So still quite a few running backs here. Ken Walker is interesting. I feel like he has been falling, but I feel like he's got a pretty good baseline. It seems like a team that's going to want to run the ball, 25 to 30 times a game. And you're probably going to, get maybe a solid split between those two. But if one were to go down, the other one would have huge upside. So Ken Walker is interesting here. If I'm looking, we've still got TJ Hawkinson. Not a bad spot here to take him if you're looking to get that next tight end. But I'm going to hold off on the tight end position. And not really thinking about quarterback. Lamar is where his ADP is roughly, but I'm looking to load up on receivers and running backs at this stage. So I'm not going to take one this early. So receivers, Amari Cooper is interesting. I think he's going to be in for probably another good year. I think that Deshaun Watson is going to be able to get a little more back to game shape. So he would be probably the option here, but there's still quite a few good receivers. I think running back's going to be the move here for me. You lucked out with Team 12 not going running back at all if you were looking to get a third one coming up here. But yeah, looking at the guys available, I think I'm going to take, who I think has like a decent floor and a pretty high ceiling, depending on how the rest of the team works out with Ken Walker. He's a guy that, had they not drafted Charbonnet, he's, probably a clear second round pick, maybe even a first round pick this year. So getting him this late, pairing him with the receivers I have, run heavy team, pretty happy with the way it worked out. So Ken Walker off the board. Next, Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley, and Lamar Jackson. So 10 picks, only 2 running backs by me. Nobody else took one if you were looking to go with another.
Yeah, my strategy of wide receiver is falling to me when I work out. And then I got kind of excited because I was looking at the board. I was like, oh, Lamar Jackson might get to me. I just have one team to get past because the other two have running or quarterbacks in the last.
It is not the case.
It is not the case at all. So now it's the gamble of, well, Justin Fields is next up. Is he the one I take my shot on? But probably not. Like you said, running backs didn't go, so we got some good value there. Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins, Dameon Pierce, Alexander Mattison, Miles Sanders at the wide receiver position. We do have DeAndre Hopkins still up here, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Drake London, Christian Watson, Jerry Jeudy. So I was really hoping like an Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen would get to me, but the running backs did not fall the way I wanted them to. So, sometimes when other people bob, you weave.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to weave here. If everyone's going wide receivers, then I'm going to grab some of those trusty running backs and, hope I can continue to hit late at wide receiver like we typically aim to do with some upside guys. The question too, it's not Aaron Jones. It's not Joe Mixon. The first one that comes off to me is J.K. Dobbins, which it feels weird because it has felt like a couple of years since we've been interested in J.K. Dobbins in the draft. Last year was the injury. The year before, I don't recall what was going on. But it feels like it's been a little while. Dameon Pierce, another solid option. Mattson, real good. Miles Sanders, real good. But, if I'm looking at my roster, Bijan, I don't think I've drafted this year. Amon-Ra, I have it. Stevenson, I have it. So I'm just going to stick with that trend. I'm going to draft J.K. Dobbins because I haven't drafted him so far. The Ravens offense looks to be explosive this year. And we're hoping that, the rising sea lifts all boats or whatever they say. So we're locked in Mr. Dobbins. Give me, there you go. Rising tide. Yes. gives me 3 running backs here to start in the first 4 rounds. Hawkinson goes right after me. There goes Matson, McLaurin, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, DJ Moore. That rounds out the 4th. And then we got Christian Watson, George Kittle, Justin Herbert, Justin Fields, Pierce, and Hopkins right before me. That's a shame because I was going to look at like a Herbert. I figured Fields wouldn't get picked, but I thought Herbert might. Now Miles Sanders is here. Like I can really lean into this running back thing with him.
Can only start 3, but the value is still there, and
the value,
good depth, good trade options.
Yeah, so we'll see. Let's take a look at what else is out there. Trevor Lawrence, Dak, Watson, Tua, Anthony Richardson. So we're drying up at that quarterback position. At wide receiver, Drake London. You want that volume? You're getting it with Drake London, Jerry Jeudy, Chris Godwin, Michael Pittman, Hollywood Brown, Michael Williams. Then a tight end, Pitts, Goddard, Waller, Freiermuth. Tough one. I'm regretting some things. I don't know what I'm regretting. Maybe Stevenson, if I would have grabbed a Debo and then now, like, would I rather have Stevenson, Dobbins, and Drake London, or would I rather have, Debo, Dobbins, and Sanders? Probably Debo, Dobbins, and Sanders. Just thinking out loud, just a little thought exercise here. I think. Oh, I was going to go Drake London, but I have Bijan, and I don't want 2 pieces of Atlanta. They're not good enough to me to want 2 pieces.
Yeah.
Both are going to be great volume plays, but the touchdown upside, I think, is going to copy some. Yeah. That's going to be a tough sell. Jerry Jeudy scares me just because of Denver. In total, Chris Godwin scares me because of Tampa offense. Michael Pittman scares me because of Indy's quarterback situation. I follow Hollywood Brown, and he is more interesting. Obviously there's some risk with Kyler. So this has become a tricky situation because these wide receivers they all have question marks. Mike Williams constantly hurt. Ayuk, the 2 for his team. Lockett, steady, but you got JSN there now. So it is, it's not the loveliest of situations. I am going to go with Hollywood Brown. That seems like a risk if Kyler misses a significant amount of time to start the year. I'm in trouble. Hopefully come draft season we have some more clarity because we still don't have clarity on Kyler, right? No,
I don't believe so.
That's kind of worrisome. Like if I was in a draft right now, I don't know if as my number 2, I don't know if I could pull the trigger. I'm going to pivot. If this is a real draft, I don't think I would do it. I think I would lean on a Jerry Jeudy. So I'm going to go with Jerry Jeudy, even though he worries me as well. He's not hurt. His quarterback's not hurt. So, that puts him above everyone else, I guess. So Miles Sanders goes, Drake London, and then Dalvin Cook, who apparently has gotten an offer from Miami. We'll see what happens on that front, but he has an offer allegedly.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like a lot of people are racing to look to try to trade for a Devon Chain, let's say, if Cook goes there to try to get him on a discount. People looking to panic sell. So it'll be interesting to see. I think it probably hurts more of a Raheem Mostert and Wilson more than A-Chain. A-Chain seems like he's probably locked into kind of like a 10 touches a year or a game role for this first year. But it'd be interesting to see if Cook lands there.
Yeah, indeed. There's a lot of, if Cook goes there, that would kill Jeff Wilson for sure. Mostert probably too, but Mostert I think is probably good enough.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Maybe split.
Off the top of your head, do you know both of their ages? I was surprised, and I just learned that. What their ages
Mostert and Wilson?
Yeah.
I don't think they're... I think Wilson's older by a year or 2. I would say Wilson's like 29 and Mostert's 27 or 28.
So they both just signed, or they're both under contract for 2 more years. Mostert's 31, Wilson's 27.
Oh. Wow,
yeah.
How was I off? Wow, right? 31 for Mostert,
That blew my mind too. I was thinking the same thing you were thinking before I had checked that out recently.
Oh, because Mostert didn't get his start with the
No,
49ers.
he was
He
on the
was on
Eagles
someone
for a
else's.
bit. He was somewhere else. Like he was just a
Yeah,
kick
he bounced
returner for a
around.
while before he actually broke
Yeah.
out as a running back with the Niners.
Yeah, that's why. That's
Hmm
why. That makes sense.
Which
Okay.
means he
I'll
probably
buy
doesn't
that.
have a ton of miles on his tires either. But yeah, he's a
Yeah.
little older. Alas, here at my pick, a few of the guys that I was looking at to fall, like a Judy or Sanders or London, did not. So there are still some solid players at the running backs and receiver position. A Hollywood Brown, like you mentioned, Chris Godwin still here, Brandon Ayuk, some solid options there. At running back, James Conner's another solid one that I think would be a good fit for kind of the upside I'm looking at for my top other guys there. Cam Akers. But with everything falling the way it did, I think I'm going to pivot here and go with our boy Trevor Lawrence, especially with the team behind me not having a quarterback yet, and kind of lucked out that two other computer teams, not named yourself there, did not go quarterback. I figured all three, including Lawrence, would have gone. And at that point, I would have just punted a little further with Dak and Deshaun Watson as the top guys, but. Gonna go with it. I think kind of drafting probably closer to ceiling this year. In that Fields Herbert kind of tier. But I think he could really step up. Has more weapons there. Second year in this system with Doug Peterson. I think it's a really good opportunity here to get a guy that could be a top 5 quarterback. After him, Chris Godwin and DeAndre Swift come off the board.
So before you pick,
Yeah,
what do you think of that team? Team 12. So we're looking, for those audio only, it's Derrick Henry and DeAndre Swift as your running backs. He just got his second running back in the 6th round. And then AJ Brown, Debo, Keenan Allen, Godwin. Like, that's a solid,
interesting. Yeah, the
it's not
receiving
zero
core.
RB, but he
No,
waited.
I mean, he's like a hero RB almost with Derrick Henry, and Swift has a ton of upside. So if you hit on Swift, you've got some stability at receiver with Allen and Godwin as your, third and fourth. AJ Brown's got a high floor and a high ceiling, and I think Debo still has a pretty high ceiling.
Yeah, it's an interesting team they've
Yeah,
constructed
it's
there,
an
right?
interesting build.
It
It's a
could,
build that I feel like something that you and I would build here, not going with quarterback or tight end, and
yeah.
almost leaning into one position over the other to start.
Yep. Yeah, it was interesting. Just wanted to call it out.
Yeah. So we've got some tight ends. Still have Kyle Pitts here on the board. Dallas Goedert, Waller. So some interesting options. But because I went quarterback, I just know how I'd feel about the team if I went with the tight end early as well and wasn't getting depth at those other positions until later. So we're going to look here at either wide receiver or running back. Receiver, we'll be looking at Hollywood Brown or a Brandon Ayuk. And at running back, I think that's probably going to go because I feel pretty good about my top 2 receivers to start. I have James Conner available, Cam Akers. And Conner is a guy that I think he's just going to get so much volume. Obviously, there is some risk there with, if they signed one of these running backs out there. But at this stage, if I'm drafting and, when you're actually drafting, likelihood we'll know where everybody is. And Conner will either fall because one of those guys signed there a little bit, or possibly rise a little bit more. If he stays here, I think it's a great value if he's going to be the guy that gets all the volume here. So solidify my receiving core a little bit here with the upside that I have at receiver and at quarterback. So we're going to go James Conner. After him, Kyle Pitts, Cam Akers, and Dallas Goedert. So I hope you weren't looking for tight end. We got a couple tight ends go off the board.
Yeah. It is a little worrisome. Goddard getting to me would have been nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I surely didn't start a running back or a wide receiver run, did I? All the running backs went.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the wide receiver. It's all the same guys I didn't like last time. Running backs here. We do have Javonte Williams. We have Kamara. We have Rashad White, Pacheco. As I have said in other drafts, I am in a pretty good running back position where I could take a shot on Javonte and wait. But man, anytime I've drafted somebody, there's always a guy around like 6, 7, or 8 who has a suspension or an injury. He's coming back like week 8, and you just figure, if I have a good enough team, if I survive till then, I'm going to be great. I did it last year when I went 0 RB in our league, and it was DeAndre
Yep.
Hopkins. And it just freaking hurt.
Yeah.
And it wasn't his fault. That was Kyle Pitts sucking and Trey Lance getting hurt immediately. Like, there was other flaws of that team, but man, just sitting on someone for so long just sucks. So I don't think I could pull the trigger on him. Looking at those other positions I need, we do have Dak, we got Watson, we got Tua, we got Richardson at tight end, we got Waller, Freiermuth, Ingram, and Njoku. I'm okay waiting at tight end. I think the quarterback I am targeting is Tua. So let's take a look at the 80 or the team builds we have here. I have 6 teams in front of me, 4 of which have quarterbacks already. And just looking at ADP, Tua's usually not going here. We do have 2 quarterbacks in front of him. We have an Anthony Richardson who's going to be drafted all over the board. So I am comfortable waiting another round for my quarterback. Tight end, we're just going to keep waiting on. So we're going to grab our wide receiver here. Hollywood's still here. I mean, I'll read off the list. It's just pretty similar. Pittman, Hollywood, Mike Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Tyler Lockett, Christian Kirk, Mike Evans. There's 2 names that are really jumping off of me. One's Hollywood, just because he's the wide receiver 1, man. When Kyler comes back, he's going to be so good. It's just how much time is Kyler missing?
Yeah, I was strongly considering him.
Now, as him being my 3, it makes more sense. So that's your risky upside, and then your safer play, if you want to be safe, is Christian Kirk. I think you could probably put Lockett into that category, Ayuk to some degree, but Kirk's going to be pretty safe with his volume. I think I'm going to roll the dice. I don't think my team is built up of dice rolls for once. Bijan should be pretty solid. I know he's a rookie, but he should be solid. Amon-Ra will be solid. Stevenson should be. I think most people would put him in the will be category, but we know what happens with these running backs. They just come and go. So I'll say should be. Dobbins a little risky, G's a little risky, but you're in, round 4 or 5, it's going to happen. So Hollywood, the situation's the riskiest of everything, but I'm okay taking that risk. I haven't taken any huge risks yet. So we'll lock him in there. It's my wide receiver 3. Rashad White goes after me, then Pittman, Darren Waller, Mike Evans, Pacheco, and Deontay Johnson there to round out the 6th round. Team 1 just got his first running back in the 7th round, Javonte Williams. That is interesting for a 0 RB approach. Kamara goes 702. JSN goes Montgomery, Mike Williams, Ayuk, and I am back on the clock. And no quarterbacks went.
Wow.
So I could keep playing the game because there's only one team after me that doesn't have a quarterback, and it's Team 12, who I don't know what they'll do, but the odds of them taking Tua out of all the options available, I think, are pretty low. So I'm fine waiting again. Not a lot has changed at the tight end position. Waller went, so I'm going to keep kicking that can. We'll go wide receiver, and I will lock in my Christian Kirk. I just brought him up last time as a safer option, so pairing him with Hollywood makes me happy. Tyler Lockett goes. Treylon Burks, I know that is someone you were probably looking at, and Johan Dotson, another guy I'm sure you were looking at. Did you just get burned on back-to-back picks there?
Probably like 6 picks in a row, really, man. I was hoping to get one of those receivers, and 6 straight receivers go here leading in my pick. So that is rough. As I look, man, I regret the counter pick and not being able to go with a receiver there, because there's still decent running backs available. Wouldn't feel great about my running back depth, but the receiving core definitely dies out. So I probably am going to go with 2 receivers here, almost tempted to go with a tight end, just trying to get some more upside there. But I think I just need to get there because that receiving core is going to just dry up quickly. So you have a George Pickens here. Interesting, probably going to be the 2 there, but I think that's going to be a pretty run first offense. And he'll make his splash plays, but I am a little more down on him for this year than I feel like a lot of people are. So if I look at the receiver position, we've got some of the rookies in Jordan Addison and Quentin Johnston. I feel like are both solid options. I hate relying on the rookie position, but I feel like they're both guys that are going to be in offenses that are going to pass more. Addison should be the two there. Hawkinson obviously will be involved. So maybe the third option, and then Quentin Johnston, could be an interesting option there as well. But yeah, it dries up, man. We've got Kadarius Toney, Brandon Cooks, which obviously hurts that I have. They have CeeDee Lamb already, so it makes that not really much of a choice. If we look back at the running back position, there's not even running backs who are screaming out. So I think it's just a rough part of the draft with the James Cook, AJ Dillon, Gibson, Brian Robinson. So there's not a ton there either. So I think I'm going to go with Jordan Addison first here, take a shot on one of these rookie receivers, and he's one that I think you and I were both pretty excited about for this season, even. So I think he's a guy that it has a pretty good floor if he wins the job that I think most of us think he's going to win. Obviously, that ceiling probably not there behind the best receiver. I think most people agree here in football, but I do think there is a good opportunity for him. So going to go with him first here. After him, Antonio Gibson and Dak Prescott go, if you're hoping for Dak. And on top, to stack there with him, we've got a lot of young receivers here. Brandon Cooks, I mentioned there. Michael Thomas, up someone thrilled about, but someone a little further down on the ADP list. And he may be there for my next pick. But given that most of the time we're not going to be drafting against the computer, and you can't rely on where ADP is going to be, I'm going to go with Courtland Sutton. I think we still don't know if it's going to be him, Judy, or a combination of the two. Obviously, with the way the ADP looks right now, most people are banking on it being Judy, and Sutton not really being as far involved. But ADP is 109 for Sutton right now. I mean, you got Judy at what 507, so within the 50s range, right? Probably like 55-ish. So I think it's a good spot here. So I'm going to take Sutton, get another receiver here just to get some depth. The guy I think has a decent floor, maybe not the upside that Addison could have, and some of these other rookies could have. But I want to get some guys that I think are going to be able to build some depth out on my team. So after Sutton, James Cook, George Pickens, and AJ Dillon.
It's funny, a few years ago, every analyst in the world was running with the stat that when you have two teammates that are kind of question marks, then 9 times out of 10, the one with the higher ADP is the one that you want to have. So in this case, it'd be Judy. But that year, Ayuk was ahead of Debo, and Debo had his massive season, and I haven't heard anyone repeat that stat since. So yeah, you just going with Sutton made me think of that old little stat. So I am back on the clock. My first pick is easy. I'm going with Tua. Even if Team 12 didn't go with a quarterback, I don't think I would have rolled the dice because, as realistic as we're trying to be, we do got to consider sleepers here. And, I got a feeling backups could be coming into play soon. So I'm not going to roll the dice anymore. I'm just going to lock in Tua. We'll see what gets back to me. Quentin Johnston goes. Deshaun Watson goes. Not a backup, just to a team that needed a quarterback. Brian Robinson, Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, and Freiermuth go to round out the 8th round. Rashad Penny, the running Jamal Williams, too many J. Williams, goes there 902. Tony, Ingram, Gabe Davis, Anthony Richardson right before me at 906. So pretty certain Tua would not have gotten back to me. So quite happy with that. Running backs, we got Charbonnet, we got P. Ryan, Khalil Herbert, A-Chain, Damian Harris, Elijah Mitchell. At the wide receiver position, we got Juju, Zay Flowers, Bateman, Jameson Williams, Elijah Moore, and Odell Beckham. And then at tight end, we got Njoku, Schultz, Komet, Kincaid, Chig, Dulcich. So let's take a look at the tight end position here. Only 2 people after me have a tight end. You are not one of them. I know who you want, so I am drafting Chig. And maybe you're fine with Njoku, but I'm worried he's not going to get back to me. So I'm going to take my shot. I'm going to grab Chig now. I know we both think he's got a lot of upside to him. I'll get my tight end out of the way, and we'll see what gets back to me. Straight running backs after that: Khalil Herbert, P. Ryan, and H.
Yeah, I was debating both of them. I feel like Chig or Dulcich maybe would have gotten back to my next pick. Probably not, to the turn after that. But Njoku is a pretty solid option still available here. P. Ryan and Khalil Herbert go. They were the running backs that I was really eyeing up. Charbonnet is enticing. I know you usually don't double up with the same running back and same team, but Walker and Charbonnet is interesting. I don't know that I enjoy trying to pick which one to start each week, but getting both and guaranteeing you'd have the one, if something were to happen to one of them is interesting. But it seems like you're also kind of lighting a pick on fire too. So I'm going to go Njoku first here. We'll see what this team behind me does. They go Schultz and Bateman, so they don't make the decision for me. Charbonnet's still sitting here. We've got Juju Smith-Schuster here from looking at receiver. We got Zay Flowers. We have Mr. Jameson Williams, suspended half the year. Eli Moore, Odell Beckham, Lazard, Jacoby Myers a little further down. Some interesting options here. I think I'm going to take another shot on a receiver, a young guy. Looking at like a Zay Flowers. If I look at some other running backs, Damian Harris is here, but not really thrilled about him. Obviously, kind of tough only having 3 running backs, but I'm pretty solid on them. So, could take some shots on other guys that I like a little further down here on the ADP board. So I'm going to go to Zay Flowers, get another receiver here. Now I've got 5 receivers, feel pretty good about my receiving core, the depth there with the tight end and quarterback combo. So after that, Zach Charbonnet finally goes, Dalton Kincaid, and Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, so back on the clock here. We don't have to look at tight end. We don't have to look at quarterback anymore. It has been a long time since I've added a running back. So my lean's there, but let's take a look at the wide receivers. We got Jameson, Elijah Moore, Odell Beckham, Lazard, Myers, Thielen, Mooney, Boyd, Rondell Moore. No one that's really jumping off the page at me here. So I will go ahead and grab a running back here that I could add as some depth. We got Damian Harris, who's interesting. Elijah Mitchell, everyone probably worried because CMC is obviously the guy there, but I think we'll still get enough usage to be a guy you could plug in from time to time. Jerick McKinnon, who just will not die, just pops up consistently. Tyler Algier, who probably will die this year with Bijan there, and I have no interest in him on my team since I got Bijan. Singletary, big question mark there. Kendre Miller, question mark. Foreman, if you want to throw a dart at Chicago. I think, part of me wants to get Elijah Mitchell but I think I am going to go Damian Harris. It has a shot at being the starter. I would think a pretty good shot.
James Cook is the real competition there.
Yeah, I would think Damian Harris is, your first, second down guy, or James Cook is your third down guy. That's how I see it playing out. But, I don't think Damian Harris is good enough to guarantee that. Damon Harris could just be absolutely nothing, and then Elijah Moore is fine getting his work and has a game here and there. But I'm going with Damian Harris to lock in a little bit of depth because I've been ignoring that position. We had Aaron Rodgers go, Kirk Cousins, Elijah Moore, Jameson Williams, Cole Kmet, Alan Lazard. That rounds out the 10th round. We have Elijah Mitchell, OBJ, Jacoby Myers, McKinnon, Tyler Algier, and Dulcich goes right before me. Dulcich was one of the guys I was considering with Okonkwo. It was Njoku, Chig, and Dulcich, but I already had Judy, and I didn't want to double up the pass catchers there. So that's really why I pulled the trigger on Chig ahead of time. I didn't want to get burned there. But back on the clock, running backs are pretty similar. I'm not, Roshan Johnson and Foreman are enticing. Kendre Miller, kind of interesting. Jalen Warren, maybe, but I feel like I could wait. The wide receiver position. Let's get a reminder of who I got. I got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jerry Jeudy, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Christian Kirk. So a decent blend of upside and some security. So I don't think there's anything I really need per se. I think I might reach a little bit here. and buy some hype. So Thielen is interesting here. Like he's going to be a guy that's going to get plenty of targets in Carolina. I don't know the value of those targets. Maybe a rookie quarterback with a new head coach combined with an aging veteran is not the best combo in the world, and people are overvaluing Thielen. You think the volume would be there. Mooney's not bad. Boyd's just a 3. Rondell, ugh, I already have Hollywood, so I'm not interested there. I'm going to reach, and I'm going to grab Romeo Dobbs based on the hype that he's the quote-unquote go-to guy of Jordan Love. So I don't know if that's really going to mean anything, but I'm looking at the guys around him and nobody's really popping off the page today. So we're going to lock him in, see if that hype's real. We have Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, and Russell Wilson go 3 picks in a row right before you. I'm sure you're happy about that.
Yeah, love to see that. Finally had something work out for me here. I was hoping to get a Mr. Devin Singletary at the running back position here. This late, I feel like he's a guy that is going to be in, a 2-man timeshare. And, I think most people are assuming it's going to be Dameon Pierce, as we see him going much, much higher. Where do you go? The 5th round. But I think Singletary is going to get work there. He's going to be the guy I think he's going to be more trusted in pass protection. So he's going to be on the field for passing downs, going to get some potential targets and dump offs because of that. And I think he's, they paid him for a reason. He's going to get some, carries, even if it's just a light in the load and you don't rely too much on Dameon Pierce. So Singletary is pretty easy first pick here. We see another quarterback go and then a Darnell Mooney. So that's always good to see. So a lot of the quarterbacks off the board there. We've got Adam Thielen, Tyler Boyd, Rondale Moore, Mingo, Rice, Sky Moore. So some interesting options there. You mentioned Rondale Moore. Upside shot, because it's really just Rondale Moore, Dortch. Who else would be competing for that second receiver spot? If somebody I'm missing receiver wise, I've got the 2 tight ends
in Arizona.
Yeah,
Michael Wilson.
Yeah, the rookie. Yeah, so Michael Wilson. So there's some interesting options there. If we're looking at running back, so Kendra Miller, Foreman, Mostert, Zeke. So some other solid options there. But I like another rookie receiver here, loading up on the rookie receivers, which I feel like usually we end up going more rookie running back. So this is a pretty rookie-heavy team. But Jonathan Mingo is a guy that I think has an opportunity. There's just a lot of unproven receivers around him or older receivers like your Adam Thielen. And he had a lot of good scores coming out that point to being a breakout. He is a guy coming out of Ole Miss. We've seen a lot of good Ole Miss receivers that have come out in recent memory here. So I think Jonathan Mingo is interesting. I know we talked about for a rookie quarterback, it usually doesn't bode well for the receiving core. But I think he's going to be a guy that I look more for a floor play. You're not going to get the breakout, that kind of top tier receiver. But when you look at it, I feel like you'll see that a lot of the rookie quarterbacks will be able to produce decent, receivers. You're not seeing that, 15 points a game, 18 points a game, but I can see a double digits, 10, 11, 12. But at this stage, just getting another depth piece, a guy that I like just compared to really everything else around here. So going to go with another upside shot of a Jonathan Mingo. After him, Kendra Miller, Adam Thielen, and Raheem Mostert.
Okay, so taking a look at the running back position, it's pretty similar. We still got those shots on Chicago that I'm kind of enticed by. At the wide receiver position, very similar to what we had before. Will just talked about that quite a bit. I think the guy I'm targeting at the wide receiver position right now is Jalen Hyatt. Get a rookie with a lot of I don't know how much opportunity he's going to have.
Not great news recently. Obviously, hype or anti-hype, but said he was running with the 3s was the last thing that people have said. And obviously, a lot can change in the summer, but not what we would hear to start.
It's not. It's definitely not. But there's no one in front of him that's solidified.
No.
Maybe Slayton, but
really Waller's the only guy that's guaranteed targets outside of the running back position.
For real. And then, he's running with the 3s. But then I look around at everyone around him. Well, what's Zay Jones? Zay Jones is going to have Ridley and Kirk in front of him. He's a 3. And Michael Gallup is going to have Lamb and Cooks in front. He's a 3. Chark is going to have Thielen and then maybe Mingo in front of him. He's a 3. So like everyone's around the same thing. Hyatt's the one with the upside to break into that. So he's the one I'm targeting, but he's far enough down ADP that I can wait another round. So I'm going to lock in Roschon Johnson, get a rookie running back in a situation. You know, I'm not big on the Bears situation. Like I think the 3 of them are just going to eat each other alive, and none of them is going to come out with any sort of year-long value. But in the 12th round, fine throwing a dart because who really cares about the 12th round? So I'm going to throw my dart on the rookie, and we'll see what happens. So lock him in. Foreman goes immediately after. Boyd, Sky Moore, Tyler Higbee, Rashee Rice, Zeke goes there. Bryce Young goes. Gallup, Murray. Wow, Murray's down 1303. That's actually very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you grab him and then grab, anybody to start the year, but could be a good one.
He's got Herbert and
for the auto pick. But if you were waiting on quarterback, that could be grab him and then pick someone off the waivers if you need to start the year.
Or if you want to burn 2 picks, you get a Daniel Jones or Kyler back to back, or who's there now? We got Carr, Love, Stroud, Stafford. Maybe grab Stafford. There's options.
Absolutely.
Stafford
still blows my mind how far down he is. It hasn't changed.
He's gonna outperform his ADP. I don't know if he'll be fantasy relevant or not, but he'll outperform. But anyway, let's get on with the pick because we're running lower on time. Hyatt's the guy. He's still available. We'll lock him in there and just throw the dart that I've got an upside guy in New York. Sam Laporta goes. Everett and then Nico Collins. You're up with your second to last pick here.
Yeah. So a couple of interesting options here. I'm going to be looking at the running back position. Some receivers just to call out. Rashid Shaheed in New Orleans. Donovan Peoples-Jones, Wandale Robinson, Van Jefferson's further down there. All solid options here, I think. But going to take some shots at running back here, given that I only have 4. First one is going to be Jaylen Warren. He's going to be a solid, handcuff to somebody that I can get here. And he proved that I think he's going to get carries. And if he is the guy, that's an improved offensive line. All the things that we've talked about Najee Harris and how, could be a bounce back year for him. Warren should benefit from that as well. And should there be an injury ahead of him, Warren could really benefit. So he is someone that I'm going to take here. And then I'm also going to take a shot on another guy that I think, we'll see early how much is used, especially this early, in Chase Brown in Cincinnati. I haven't taken him much, but upside guy here, if I'm looking at running back depth, these are guys I'm probably going to look to churn through if I don't see anything early. So I'm going to grab these 2. Brown's going to be a guy that I don't mind cutting if I don't see anything early out of him. So after Chase Brown in Cincinnati, DJ Chark, Jerome Ford, and Donovan Peoples-Jones.
There's actually quite a few very interesting options here. Tajay Spears, Clyde Edwards-Helaire still here. That's pretty crazy. Gus Edwards here, wide receivers. You named Shaheed, Jalen Reed, Renfro's here, Osborne, Wandale Robinson, Mechie, Marvin's. There's interesting. Van Jefferson. We're talking about a bunch of people that are wide receiver 3 for their team. He's wide receiver 2. Some interesting options. I'm just going to bob and do something a little bit different just to talk about Jordan Love. With, a week 1 or 2, we'll know what he has. And if it is another Aaron Rodgers situation where he sat behind a GOAT for a few years and then he gets his chance and he just busts out, then he's on my team. If not, I'll cut him and move along. So we've locked him in. That finishes up our draft. So I was in the 7th spot. Will again in the 11th spot. So for me, quarterbacks Tua and Jordan Love this time. Running backs Bijan Robinson, Ramondre Stevenson, Dobbins, Damian Harris, and Rashawn Johnson. At the wide receiver position, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jerry Jeudy, Hollywood Brown, Christian Kirk, Romeo Doubs, and Jalen Hyatt. And then at tight end, Chigakonkwo. What's your team looking like?
Yeah, so my team, Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kenneth Walker, James Conner, Devin Singletary, Jaylen Warren, and Chase Brown at running back. Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Jordan Addison, Cortland Sutton, Zay Flowers, Jonathan Mingo at receiver, and David Njoku at tight end. Solid. I like it more than I thought. I may have pivoted and looked to get a third receiver a little earlier because I'm really banking on Sutton and 3 rookies and hoping that at least one of those rookies hits to have some depth at the position. But being able to get a Trevor Lawrence and David Njoku, feel pretty good about those 2 onesie positions. And pretty solid about the running backs that I have there too. So I think it's a good team. May have tweaked a few things at this point, but I think it's pretty solid.
I think I'm good with my team. I'm worried about the wide receiver too. It's a lot of people I don't typically draft, so that gives me a lot of hesitation. The bottom half of it, like from Tua down, I'm cool. Like that whole thing's fine. But going into a season and being like, well, your wide receiver 2 is either Jerry Jeudy, Hollywood Brown, or Christian Kirk. Like that could be great, especially if Kyler's back within a few weeks. If that's the case, I love this team. This is wonderful. If it's not the case and Kyler misses like half the year, I'm quite worried. But I can move a wide receiver or running back piece and see what happens. And we got upside with Chig. There's a world. He's a top 3 tight end this year. I don't know if he passes Andrews, but if he passes Hawkinson and Kittle and stuff, that wouldn't surprise me personally. He's not going to get up to 1 or 2, but a type guy. So that could be interesting. So yeah, it's an interesting team. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I see the upside. I see the risk. It's just different. That's all.
Yeah. Another good mock in the books here as we approach July.
Yeah, man. It'll be actual draft season before we know it. It's hard to believe, but it won't be long. It won't be long at all. But yeah, that's going to wrap up this episode. So tune in next week. We'll come at you with another mock. We'll have to discuss what that's going to be. It won't be a 12 team, be something a little bit different, but we will see. And until then, folks, trust your board.